Hello, welcome to Dungeon Warriors Podcast. I'm your host, Justin. For Christmas month, we're doing our third review of the Silent Night, Deadly Night series. Today is Silent Night, Deadly Night 3, Better Watch Out. Which, even after revealing that the main character is blind, it took me a little bit, it took me like 20 minutes into the movie to realize, she's blind, and it's called Better Watch Out. It's like, God fucking damn it. Yeah, so I was actually enjoying this movie, right? And I was at like the halfway point. I decided, hey, I'm probably gonna finish this movie early tonight, so I decided, I'm probably gonna game a little bit, so I decided I'm gonna go out and get some snacks. I go to check in on my dog, and guess what happens? My dog shit the floor again, which is like, God fucking damn it. It's only been like 3 weeks since last time this happened, and we were all out of Febreze, and it's winter time, so it's not like I can open the fucking window, because like the room stinks. And I had to go out, get some shit. And it's like, the fucking weird thing is, I was feeding her the cheap shit. Because, that's what they sell nearby, right? Without having to drive like 20 minutes or half an hour to like a PetSmart or whatever, right? So I get the cheap stuff, even though I check the ingredients. They say if the first ingredient is meat and there's no grain, it's healthy food, right? So it passed, and her like poos were healthy. I go and get her some the good stuff that costs 3 times as much as her regular food, right? I started feeding her that stuff today, and like I take her outside, and her poo is like, it's a nice color, it's a healthy color, but it starts to like get soft, and I'm like, oh fuck. I get her the expensive food, and thinking it's gonna be healthier, and then this shit happens. So I'm like, what the fuck? Maybe it's just my friend tells me whenever you switch dog food, this kind of thing will happen. So I go to check on her. It's like 7 o'clock. Poop right by the front door, just like last time. By the door, just like last time, and it took me half an hour to fucking clean it. Half an hour to get the stuff I need, because I need to get Febreze and shit, and some other stuff. So yeah, I wasted an hour of my night on this stuff, and I also took her outside to see if she needed to pee and poop again. So my good night watching this movie was kind of ruined a little bit. So I should probably check up on her again. So let's get this review over with. So the story for this movie is Laura, who's played by Samantha Scully. Oh, by the director's name is what was it? Will Hellman or something? Monte Hellman, which this guy, though, if you look at his credits, he's directed a lot of shit, like from the 60s until like kind of recent. Like I think his latest movie is from 2011. All of his movies, except for like 2 that I saw, had like shitty reviews. So it's like, how the fuck does this guy who puts out shitty fucking movies keep getting funding? And it's like, I had no idea. But this movie has a really shitty review on IMDb. So the story is basically this girl who is blind but is also a psychic is hired to do research, like sleep basically like sleep like kind of experiments where she sleeps and she's connected to this guy whose like brain is exposed. It's covered in a dome. His skull is cut all around. Like they took the skull, the top of his skull off, and put a dome over it. So it looks very much like some 1950s like sci-fi shit. And they're connected to this machine. Like she can see this guy in her dreams, and she shares his memories. And it turns out that's Ricky Cadwell, um, played by Bill Moseley, who you'll know from movies like sorry, I almost said this movie. From Rob Zombie movies, and he was in The Blob, not the original, but the remake of The Blob. And like he was also, what was his name? I can't remember, but he was like in like Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, which I have that movie. I could review it if you guys want, but yeah, I have. It's well known that that movie's great. Okay, so he's in a coma. I guess after he got shut up by the cops. He's survived and has been in a coma ever since. And the person who's running this whole research is Dr. Newberry, played by Richard Beymer, who you'll know from Twin Peaks. What was his character from Twin Peaks? He was the guy who owned the Great Northern, and he was like a villain of the show, and like until like season 2, where he became a good guy. Another cast member from Twin Peaks is Eric Del Rey, who played Leo, who is Chris in the movie, and he's Laura's brother, right? So you have like 2 people from Twin Peaks in this movie, and this was shot in like 1989, which is like the same year when they started shooting Twin Peaks, the show. So here's the problem: a lot of people hate this movie, but like I'm a Twin Peaks fan. It wasn't that long ago where I started rewatching the show again. Like during the start of COVID, I watched a shitload of. I binge watched a lot of shows like Oz, The Wire, and Twin Peaks, even and like season 3. And I also picked up Fire Walk with Me. So I would say I'm a huge Twin Peaks fan. So getting to see these characters again when they're these actors again when they're so young, made me like very nostalgic. So I did enjoy the movie, but I don't know how I feel about it. But so like what ends up happening is, during the psychic experiments, Bill Moseley wakes up and goes on a killing spree while looking for Laura. So this movie has like kind of a Halloween feel to it. And before that happens, Chris picks up Laura. They meet his new girlfriend Jerry, who's played by Laura Harring, who you'll know. Another 6 Degrees of Separation. She was in the David Lynch movie Mulholland Drive, and she also played like John Travolta's wife in the 2004 Punisher movie with Thomas Jane, which is one of my favorite comic book movies. Yeah, so like they hate each other right off the bat, and most of the movie is like these characters hanging out on Christmas Eve. It all takes place Christmas Eve, mostly at Christmas Eve night. So they're on their way to Granny's house, right? While that's happening, Lieutenant Connolly, who's played by Robert Culp, who was the grandfather from Santa's Sleigh, which apparently this guy was in 2 killer Santa Claus movies for some reason, which I had no idea. Like I've only seen, like, this is my first time watching this movie, right? So like he mostly hangs out with Dr. Newberry, played by Richard Beymer, who used to date Sharon Tate. Did I mention that? I just found out today that he used to date Sharon Tate. Apparently, they were both on some TV show called Man from U.N.C.L.E., which Guy Ritchie made a movie based off that 60s TV show. So they were both, him and Sharon Tate were both on that show, and they dated for a while, I guess, before she was brutally murdered, obviously. mm. Yeah, so like, yeah, Robert Culp is kind of like the, I would say the comedic relief in the movie, like him and like Richard Beymer, Dr. Newberry, spend a lot of time together, and they talk about like philosophy and shit. Like at one point, like they're driving in their car, right, on the way to like Granny's house, which is where like Laura is staying, because like they discovered the bodies, and he asked Dr. Newberry, where do you think Ricky would go? And he says, oh, probably to Laura's place. How? Well, they said like, you know, Ricky has a psychic connection with Laura. That's how he knows where she's gonna be and shit, right? Yeah. So, you know, they have like some funny dialogue in the movie. At one point, like, he says something, and then like Dr. Newberry thinks he's asking him, hey, have you ever like had sex with one of your patients? Like, oh no, I don't mix two primary functions, right? And like really, he was talking about his new car phone, which is like, it's only like what, like a few years from now they start making like, few years from then where they were gonna start making like cell phones. And he calls his car phone a cellular phone, which I didn't know they called their car phones cellular phones. I just thought they were called car phones, but whatever. Yeah. So most of the movie is just the Ricky and Laura. Sorry, not Ricky. Laura and like Chris and Jerry hanging out at Grandma's house. You know, there's some cattiness between Laura and Jerry. Laura, you know, she's very like, has a lot of pent up aggression over her condition, you know, being blind, and the fact that, you know, her parents died, and, you know, stuff like that. Yeah, so like, yeah, it's not till like what, like 50 minutes in the movie where like Ricky finally shows up and attacks them, right? And I should mention, somehow, even though like Ricky left after like Laura and like her brother and girlfriend leave the hospital, he somehow is able to hitchhike and get to Granny's house way before they did. Like, and there's plenty of scenes where like Ricky like almost teleports. Which, if you ever played that like Friday the 13th PS4 game, Jason can teleport in this game, and it like happens like in this movie too, where like they'll run upstairs, he'll be downstairs, and somehow he's like hiding under the bed. And one of the bedrooms they're hiding, even though he was downstairs. It's like, what the fuck? Yeah, there's a lot of weird shit that happens in this movie. And like, I would say like Dr. Newberry's like dialogue is like it's like all over the fucking place with, it's like they're constantly like, he's constantly using big words, like almost like every sentence when they're like having like kind of somewhat of a simple conversation. Like, it's like, what the fuck? Which I know that makes me sound like low IQ. Like, this guy's using too much big words, so I can't understand. I can understand what the fuck he's saying. It's just that he's like complicating his shit. And he also tries to do the thing where like and like a lot of like like you see this in Halloween movies a lot, where like the psychiatrist character teams up with the cop, and then like the psychiatrist character tries to stop the cop from killing the killer in the movie. That happens in this movie too, where like Lieutenant Conley gets out of his stops by the side of the road to take a leak, and then like Richard Beymer just jumps into the driver's seat and just drives off. And then like he immediately gets BTFO'd by Ricky, right? And yeah, and also I should mention there's a lot of scenes where a character will look like they got murdered, and then we'll go back to the person, and like he'll still be alive, right? Also, I should mention Chris. Even though I like this actor Eric DeRay, his acting in the movie is a little shitty. Like when Ricky grabs Jerry, he's like, "Oh shit," and it's like very like I don't know. It's just it didn't sound natural to me. Yeah, the movie. It's one of the things where like I really enjoyed it, but we got to the point where like it felt like, hey, like they spent too much time hanging around these characters, and then like it just felt. I went to check the time, and it's like, holy shit, the third act should start any minute now, and then the third act starts. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. I would say my biggest problem with the movie is that Eric Freeman, if I've remembered his name right, the guy who played Ricky in the second movie, though that movie, in my opinion, sucks. Once Eric Freeman shows up and starts, doing the slasher horror movie routine, and that's when that movie gets good, and that's when it gets watchable. Here, like, though Bill Moseley, does, for what he's trying to do and how the part is written, like, yeah, it's a good performance, but like honestly, like this movie, it's trying to be like kind of like an art house drama movie, like the first movie was, where like it just everything that made Ricky special from the second movie is just gone in this movie, and it's just so sad. Like this movie would have been better if we just got the Ricky that we got in the second movie, where like he was like a common, like I said like several times, he was this unique combination of Terminator and Freddy Krueger, and it was just fucking perfect. His shit Indian grin, like the little jokes he would make as he's killing people and like shit like that. Like none of that is in this movie. And then there's the problem where like Ricky, they say it's only been 6 years since the events of the second movie. Ricky should only be like 24 in this movie, because Ricky was 18 in the events of the second movie, though they didn't say like how long he was in prison for. So at most he would be what, 25, maybe 26, and like we have like a 30-something-year-old man who looks old as fuck, and he's very like thin and shit, and he's shorter. I think he's even shorter than like Eric Freeman, and like there's the fact that they look nothing alike. Like let me check let's compare their fucking heights too. Cocksucker. Oh, apparently I tried to backspace Silent Night, Deadly Night to 3 casts, and I left cast in, and like it turns out there's a fucking English indie rock band from '92 called Cast. It's like, Jesus fucking Christ. Eric Freeman, actor, height. Let's compare their heights. Not showing me his heights. Just showing me. And like, if you look at like a current picture of him, he looks nothing like he did in the 80s. Like his fucking face even looks different. That's fucking weird. Height 165. So what the fuck is that? So that's that in feet. He's 5'4". What? It says here the result is he's 5.4 feet. So he's like one. That can't be right. You're joking, right? Con 2 feet and inches. He's 5. That can't be right. According to Bing, Eric Freeman is like 5.4. 5 feet and. Holy fuck. No way he's 5 feet 4. That's. Okay. I heard like actors tend to be short, but like holy fuck. 5'11". So Bill Moseley is like 15 inch. Sorry, not 15 inches. Yeah, like. Holy fuck. Yeah, so like according to Bing, Eric Freeman is basically a midget compared to Bill Moseley. Holy fuck. Holy shit. That is insane. So if I were to give this movie a rating, I would say it's just hard to give a rating because I love seeing the Twin Peaks actors in this movie, right? But other than that, the movie is just like, it's very slow, and it's like if you don't like these characters, the movie is going to be boring as fuck because there's not exactly any creative kills in the movie. Though he like beheads a guy, and the guy was watching TV in a gas station. He beheads him, and like he takes his head and puts it in front of the TV. So like, by the way, before that, like a lot of the kills were off screen. Before the final act of the movie, a lot of the kills were off screen. So I know a lot of people hate that shit. But then again, there's a lot of like Halloween movies where that shit happens, and people will still like it. Like, didn't Halloween H2O have a lot of off-screen like kills, and people love that fucking movie? So I don't know. It's just this movie is weird because it's like part Halloween ripoff, part like I don't know, Stephen King-ish, I guess, because of the psychic shit. Even though didn't Puppet Master have psychics in that movie too? I don't know, man. If I'm gonna give this rating, I'm gonna give it probably a 5.5. I did enjoy the movie, but I would say the Ricky from the second movie was a much better slasher killer than he is in this movie. All right, peace.